This is no Warhammer army. This is a Song of Ice and Fire. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good day. And I'm here with a really cool video today. Very different than my usual. This is an army building painting video. Well, I'm not going to build the army here. I'm actually just going to paint it and show you guys what I did. And the army is not from 40K or Legion or Age of Sigmar or any of those other ones that a million people are doing out on YouTube right now. I'm doing a Song of Ice and Fire, and more closely, the Free Folk army. So the Wildlings of Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire, you know, the novels, the show, whatever you want to call it. And this army kind of got me intrigued because of the fact that it didn't just have your typical units of cavalry and people and stuff like that. No. The Free Folk don't have just people. They have polar bears, they have giants, and they have mammoths. That's right, mammoths. But in a Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, there's not just what's happening in the battlefield on the table. There's also something happening off on the side with your NCUs. And the NCUs I chose for this one was Lady Val and Lord Craster. Okay, so these are the two I chose. And but before I get started with talking about them, I'm going to mention how everybody in here got a zenithal highlight. My entire army got a zenithal highlight, but not just black and white. It was a black primer and then given a highlight of a highlight color pretty much of what I was going to be using as a basis for that entire miniature or for that unit. So in the case like of Lady Val and Craster, I actually did a white zenithal. That one was a black and white one, because I was going to be using speed paints on them and only one dipping ink to paint them up and get them done fast. That's why I went with the speed paints.
Well, it's funny that I said speed paint because I'm actually going to start with a dipping ink here from Green Stuff World, the nude skin for their faces. I'm not going to be showing you the entirety thing of what I'm painting here, but I am using speed paints most of the time here just to truly or slowly or quickly get through some of these miniatures, because when you're army painting as well, you don't necessarily want to sit there and paint for days on end, right? So you just want to try and get these miniatures painted, and that's what I'm doing with these NCUs, just simply getting a nice coat on them. Having done the zenithal highlight, the speed paints works great with them. As you can see, the fur and all that and all the little details get into the nooks and crannies and make it easier to get through these miniatures. So yeah, very simple.
And then I moved on to not the first, actually, the one that intrigued me the most, which was my commander, which with the Free Folks, you get to choose a giant as a commander. That's right, Mag the Mighty here, which you don't hear about in the show at all. You might see him like once up here at one point. He's walking by Jon Snow. But Mag the Mighty is my commander for the group. And his buddy that's following along here is just a savage giant. He has no name, but there is another hero that you can use, which is called Wun. And these are, I don't even know which ones comes in starter pack anymore. I can't remember who's what. I think this is the Heroes Pack 2, and these guys come in the basic. I don't remember anymore. Anyways, very cool. Again, the zenithal highlight on them was done with the, what was it called? Nomad Flesh. So I did the zenithal on there because I wanted to use that as a base color for their skin, and it helped me also determine like what was going to be used on their clothing and all that. And also the zenithal helps you determine where the dark areas are and where the light areas are.
And even adding a second highlight from the top with a lighter color even better is going to give you your shadows here, where, see, I'm using two different war paints, not even in the same range at all. Added a little bit of retarder to them so that I can wet blend them too as long as I want afterwards. You've already seen a short video of this. If you haven't, well, go take a look at my shorts and you'll see how I did this cloth extremely well. And I did the same thing with the bones that they had on them, and not their bones, or the pants that they had on them. Went with a very dark color in the dark recess, and then with a lighter color where that zenithal was hitting with the lighter colors. And having like 3 shades as well is sometimes also another good thing to do. So that's why I said I think I'd use Nomad Flesh and then Barbarian Flesh.
Painting an army, you also want to have a nice paint scheme. You want to have something very similar in everything, and you want to be able to make it look like on the table that you're a unified group. Okay, so even though I've only painted this army list. You can create so many lists with the app, and with depending on what unit boxes you have. If you have just a starter, the starter won't give you much options, or many options, but at least it'll give you something. Whereas when you have unit boxes, you'll be able to add on different units, like also the next favorite one, which I really like, or the next one, which was the giant mammoth. Yep. A mammoth is in a game. He can't control any objectives, but when he comes into play, it's pretty intimidating seeing this coming up against your units, because if he does end up getting destroyed, he falls over, and that's how I see it, and ends up hurting the unit that attacked them with a D3 dice. It determines how many units you lose when that happens. So it's pretty intimidating, pretty fun. Again, had a lot of fun with the bases on all these guys to make them look like they're in the northern part of Westeros, again, beyond the wall, coming towards Westeros and all that. And so painting the mammoth was really interesting, as I again did a zenithal highlight, but this time again, but it was a black, and then I used a what was it called? Some sort of brown. I can't remember if it was. Anyways, you'll see it pop up there.
Anyways, I remember now putting on another brown color, lighter brown, on top of the zenithal brown to give it again, just like I did with the giants. And here I'm giving a dry brush of a gray color, just to have like an undertone of like some grayish skin or grayish fur. And then I worked on to the leather pouches and the leather straps and all this, and I did a sort of like weathered look to it, and I tried to go as much as possible with some details and some glazing and some highlighting and stuff like that, using two more brownish colors. Again, like I said, there was a lot of brown with this mammoth. The second mammoth that came in the box, I'm probably going to try and paint a little differently, maybe have a more of a grayish snow color. Maybe, I don't know yet what I want to do with that other mammoth. I might paint him up on a channel, I'm not sure yet, since this will be included, this mammoth here will be included in the feature-length painting video that will be available for members and Patreons. Anyways, now we're moving on to all the bones and the tusks and all that stuff, and we decided to go with a light color here, and then use, I think it was skeleton bone on top of that, just to give us some highlights on some of the areas as well. So I'm not going like in tons of details on how I painted it, but just having a nice paint scheme and having the sort of similar colors between the factions and the units makes it a coherent army. And I actually brought it on the table the other day, and it was fun to see it against another army that was not even painted. It was very like intimidating to see this thing up there, and it was and I got a lot of praise for the paint jobs I did as well, so that was fun. So the uniform gray here I used on the stone spears here, just on the stone part, the blades or whatever, the spear parts or the tips. And then I used a very light, like a sort of like pale color skin for his big hooves, kind of. I don't know what they're called. I guess his feet and part of his trunk, and his eyes and some other areas that might have been a little bit lighter skin. But of course, when I put a wash on, which you're only going to see in the longer video, it really brings everything down together. And here I come back again with a dry brush of another light brown, just to again mix everything up and give him like a really different kind of fur look to him and all that. And then he had some armor plating on him some places, so I went brazen copper just to make him feel again from you know, it's not going to be perfect silver colors, it's not going to be super bright gold colors, it's going to be dingy dark colors, and doing that all over the spots.
After that though, I want to do like, there's a lot of leather on this guy, right? So like the colors are going to be pretty much, it's going to look pretty monotone, but in the light of day, as you can see all the bone colors, you can see the nice leather pouches, how they look deteriorated, you can see his tusks here, you know, you see the details, you can see the spears that they're, you know, they're stone spears. Everything comes out looking really nice, even if everything is in the brownish colors, because you can do all sorts of dry brushing of like light grays and stuff like that, and get the effect that you want of the mammoth to look like it's wintry styled mammoth. But having that base, just the base here, like all painted with snow, just reflects the light back up, and then you can get the undertone colors showing as well. Now the next part in this army, which was a lot of fun to paint too, and by the way, I really enjoy this game because it's very simple. It's an easy to pick up game. There's nothing too complicated about it. But the next ones I really liked were Actually, these weren't even done yet. So we're going to move on first to my main unit of trappers. Okay. And what's cool is they had 3 different sculpts in here. So you get a lot of different sculpts, which is fun. It's not always the same, you know, it's not all the same guys. They have different poses. And I have Tormund Giantsbane, who's actually leading this unit. He's not my commander, but your commander, if he would have been just a regular, he'd be attached to a unit like this. So, and it gives special powers to that unit. So there's extra bonuses of having someone attached to a unit. And I wanted him just because, you know, he's Tormund. And what he had is a lot of fur that showed up on him. And I wanted some of the wildlings to have like in the show, which was like almost like a winter camo outfit. And I tried to do that on one of these, but it just didn't work out very well. I tried the whole, what is it called? Cheese mesh thing instead of baby wipes, you know, with the airbrush and all that. But anyways, it's okay. But anyways, what it is, like all sorts of different colors. You're going to see that as I'm painting along. Again, I'm using some fantastic speed paints, some War Paints Fanatic stuff.
And someone told me while I was painting this, I have to do Tormund's hair very bright orange, which is what I did. Now in the artwork, he's got almost white hair. It's gray. But I said I have to go with the Game of Thrones on the TV show version. And I did the same thing for some of the other hair on these guys as well, of these trappers here. Just going like a little lighter orange or like a lighter brown or like a sand color or like a dirty brown color. No real crazy colors as well. And then just doing their belts here quickly and some other straps with different kinds of speed paints, trying again to get these guys to the table quickly. But the zenithal, especially the different color zenithal, makes all the difference of using the same color on different parts, on different sculpts, where the lighter hit, like the light paint hit at different spots than where the darker areas stayed, right? The shadows aren't the same on all these miniatures, and that's what's kind of cool about CMON's versions of rank and flank games, is that you have many different models, and it's fun to paint because it's different and it's not all uniform. And it just, you know, so you take one color. Now you could easily go with one color on every single one of them, all the same shirts, all the same pants, and it'll save you even more time. I was just showing here what it could do quickly, but again, if you want to become a member and you want to see the full painting guide of every single part of this army, join now.
And as you can see, they're all uniform with the base as well. What I did is I took a whole bunch of Vallejo snow texture here, and they pretty much, they're going to stay. They don't have magnets. But because I layered this almost like a butter, like I just toasted them on there, I spread it all over the place, it actually locked them in place with it, because it makes like a little bit of a, see, you just press them down a bit. It doesn't break any of the stuff you put around. It just kind of locks them in so that they're not going to fall out. I'm probably going to magnetize them at some point. But these were fun because I also went with a different color scheme on them all, like I said. But again, keeping the overall theme of like brownish, you know, fur and leather colors in this army. And then what I'm going to be doing with the rest of the free folk stuff that I have, eventually I'm going to go through all the boxes, paint them individually, and show those on the channel, is probably test out to see if I can get, maybe instead of like in the other Raiders box or Trappers, I think I have another Trappers box. If I don't, they'll stay like this. And the Raiders, I think I have 2 boxes, or they came in the starter pack. They're going to be like the brown ones like this, and then the other ones I'm going to try that winter camo again, just to have, yes, they're going to be the same, but it'll be like the reverse of the furs and all that stuff. So you can have a lot of fun when you're painting your armies. You can try and go with a nice color scheme, but also mix it up a bit and have some fun with it. And I mean, it's always great when you're painting armies. You can really test your skills with them all. And speaking of skills, here I come up with the next ones, which I actually used Green Stuff World's dipping inks on these ones, and intensity inks. And these are the polar bears. I mean, that is so cool. Freaking polar bears. Again, the zenithal highlight was done with a Yeti white instead of just regular white, so it gave them there was like it's like a grayish white color to them. And that was really for the basis of the fur of the polar bears to really make them pop.
And like I said, using different techniques, different paints, just like the Green Stuff World here, I think skull linen or something like that. It's very different than using speed paints, right? Because they do go on very differently. As you can see here, it's much thicker than a speed paint, and it doesn't necessarily give a great job with highlighting and all that, in my opinion. And here I actually went with a light color on the riders, having that white on them as well. Now I'm not going through all the riders here, and I mixed up two of the inks here because I mixed up an intensity ink with a dipping ink because I like the orange colored intensity ink, but I want a little bit more red, so I added them together and it gave me the colors I wanted. Just some quick skin tones here. As you can see, I dry brushed some ice yellow on the polar bears as well, and if I hit the rest of the model, it wasn't a big deal. I kind of would have highlighted anyways, and it's a light color, so when you're using transparent colors or paints like dipping inks and intensity inks, you'll get that more contrasty look between the light and dark areas and the shadows and that. But again, I'm using the browns like I did in some of the other parts of the army, and just keeping it coherent.
Make them coming at you. I mean, that just like intimidating when that's coming at you on a unit. What's cool is these guys have melee and range. They're short range, so it's not great, the short range, by the way. But what they do is once they attack with a range, they charge and then get an extra attack for free, a melee attack. So if there's any unit left after that, but there should be. I mean, these guys aren't that powerful and all that. But again, I made the base match their bases. So this is the movement tray. When they die, you take them out and you move along. But anyway, these were the last ones I did. Really fun to paint. Again, there was a lot of schemes to it, a lot of, you know, different things I want to try. Again, though, with the dipping inks, I'm a little off with them because intensity inks, I don't know, it's just some of them work, some of them don't work. Again, it doesn't matter, but this was the point of painting an army, is that you can test different paints. You can test air paints, you can test regular acrylics, you can test speed paints, contrast paints, dipping inks, you know, any kind of inks you want to test out. But this is my very first army I ever painted. This is the very first army. I mean, yes, I played Conquest, but I never got into the painting of those models. Even though they're beautiful models, I just couldn't see myself painting the same character over and over and over, because they pretty much had the exact same poses. These guys have different poses, so it feels like different miniatures you're painting every time. Yes, the units of 12 are a little bit longer, but they're still fun because, again, you get to test what you might learn from painting them over and over, and having different skills and different things like that. So anyways, I hope this video was informative to you guys. I hope you learned a lot. By the way, if you want to have the very full painting guide, so every single color I use on every single model in this unit or army, that will be available only to Patron members. So any patrons over on my site, that link will be popping up right now. It's also in the description. Or you can join as a member for this YouTube channel and help support the channel as well and my hobby. Anyways, this video took a long time to create, and because of the painting process took me a lot longer, but it was fun nonetheless, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I hope you learn a lot from this, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.